So, hi everyone, again, welcome to the video. This is actually the fourth video, and the topic for today would be relations. Okay, let's start na siguro. Wala akong introduction. Okay, first we need to recall what is an ordered pair because a relations is an ordered pair. An ordered pair is a tuple AB, naka-parenthesis siya, where A represents the x-intercept and B represents the y-intercept. Um, Most probably, medyo, ano na kayo dyan, medyo familiar na kayo kasi parang nung high school, ganyan ang algebra, di ba? We have a coordinates. Sige. And for example, I have here an ordered pair 2, 2, negative 2, 3, negative 3, negative 3, tsaka 2, negative 3. And we need to plot it on an xy plane. Siyempre, mag-draw ka muna ng xy plane and then, siyempre yung ito would be your x and then, I'm not sure, this is the vertical, tama, the vertical line would be x and then the horizontal would be yung y. And then, just plot lang, 1, 2, 3, then same thing with the y-axis. Okay? So, sa taas ng y, ay ng x, that would be positive. Sa baba ng x would be negative. Sa right side ni y, it should be positive. And to the left side would be negative. If you wanted to, lagyan ng mga numbering yung, natin. Okay, so if you wanted to plot that, syempre, hanapin mo lang yung 2, 2. So, first, yung first coordinate sa x sa 2, and then 2 sa 2 pataas. So, that's it. That's the 2, 2. If you wanted to plot negative 3, negative 2, positive 3. Tapos, negative 3, negative 3, and then 2, negative 3. Again, this is very high school plotting point sa xy coordinate or sa Cartesian coordinate. For both positive, if your coordinates, your xy coordinates are both positive, it's quadrant 1. If it's negative positive, it would be quadrant 2. If it's negative negative, that would be quadrant 3. And positive negative, that would be quadrant 4. Okay, so what is relation? Let's define what is a relation. So, relation is a tuple AB from our cross product A, B, or what's our term for the A cross B last time, if you remember? That's the Cartesian product, yes. We say that the tuple AB is an element of the relation R if AB satisfy the conditions for R. Siyempre, mayroong mga conditions namin. If AB is an R, then we write, ito yung notation natin, A, tapos yung relation, yung, kung ano yung symbol for relation, then B. Or A is related to B. Ganyan naman siya binabasa. Okay? Sige. So, relation is a subset of A cross B. O ng Cartesian product natin. If it's a subset, if you recall, lahat ng elements magagaling dun sa bigger set. So, if the relation is a subset of A cross B, lahat ng elements ng relation ay manggagaling kay A cross B. So, without writing your A cross B, hindi ka magkakaroon ng relation. Or actually, mas magandang isulat mo sa A cross B for you to find what is the relations or kung ano yung magiging laman ng relation mo. Okay? Sige. Kasi doon nga manggagaling yung elements mo. O for example, I have here set A, which is equal to set B. And tatlo lang yung elements niya, 1, 2, and 3. And then you are asked to find relation 1 na ang laman ay mga tuple AB such that si A daw ay less than or equal kay B. Si R2 naman, or relation 2, would be mga tuple na AB such that yung A minus B ko over 2 ay element ni integer. So, paano gagawin yun? Siyempre, sabi ko nga, you can't find relation if you don't have Cartesian product. So, you need to find muna yung Cartesian product ni A and B. So, when I do the Cartesian product for A and B, that's A cross B. Yung first element manggagaling kay A, yung second element manggagaling kay B. And then, this is what you will be getting. Okay? Dapat ganito yung result na makuha nyo. Same lang sa akin. I would suggest to try it while I am explaining it. Kung gusto nyo, ipopost nyo yung video, then sabayan nyo ako sa pagsusolve para makuha nyo yung parehang nakukuha ko. So, once you get the A cross B, that's the time that you will be test the conditions for relation para malaman nyo if that tuple is an element of the relation. Okay. So, let's start with R1 muna, with the relation R1. Ang sabi, basta si A ay mas maliit or equal kay B, part ka ni relation 1. O, ano-ano ba yung mga A na mas mababa o equal kay B? O si 1, 1. Sure ako na lahat ng, actually, nung mga, yung 1, 1, yung 2, 2, tsaka 3, 3, magkakaparehang coordinate, pasok dyan, kasi equal eh. Sabi diba, it's either mas maliit si A or equal siya kay B. O, syempre, yung mga pareha, sure na pasok dyan. So, ngayon na lang, hanapin na lang natin yung mga mas mababa, ay mas mababa sa A kay B. Ano ba yon? Yung 1, 2, yung 1, 3, 2, 3, tsaka, ayun na, 2, 3 na lang. Sakto, kasi yung 2, 1 hindi kasama, yung 3, 1, tsaka 3, 2 hindi kasama, kasi mas malaki si A kay B. So, that's how you get your relation. You just need to, again, you just need to write muna yung Cartesian product, then test every element. If it satisfies the condition, part siya na relation. If it's not, it does not satisfy the condition, what it means, it's not part of the relation. Ganun lang yan. Sige. And ang, ano dito, medyo tricky part dito is for you to understand what is the condition. And most of the time, naka-ensemble form yan. So, dapat medyo sanay na kayong umintindi ng mga condition, ay ng mga ano natin, ng mga symbol natin. Which I believe I discussed it naman on the previous videos. Sige. In case na hindi, I recall naman na, binabanggit ko naman. So, for R2 naman, ang condition naman ng tuple natin to be part of the relation 2 or R2, dapat pag minus ko si B kay A, tapos dinivide ko kay 2, dapat integer. Or, in other way, dapat the result when I do that ay hindi fraction. Yun lang yun. Dapat hindi siya fraction. So, anong gagawin ko? O, yung una muna, sure ako muna na yung magkakapareha pasok. Kasi yung magkakapareha, 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 over 2 is 0, which is an integer. Ganun din yung 2 minus 2, tsaka 3 minus 3. So, pasok yon. Sulat ko na yon. Ngayon, yung problema ko na lang yung mga remaining elements. O, punta mo na kay 1 and 2. Si 1, 2 ba ay pasok? 1 minus 2 is negative 1 over 2 is 0.5. It's not an integer. So, hindi pasok si 1, 2. How about 1, 3? 1 minus 3 is negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 is an integer. So, pasok si 1, 3. How about 2, 1? O si 2, 1, hindi rin yan pasok. Sure ako dyan. 2, 3, hindi rin pasok. Si 3, 1. Si 3, 1 pasok. Kasi 3 minus 1 is 2 over 2 is 1. Is an integer. And actually, that's the last one. Kasi yung 3, 2, hindi rin pasok. Kasi magiging 0.5 yan. I mean, it's a rational number. Hindi siya integer. So again, for the end time, for you to get the relations, you need to write yung A cross B and then test every element para malaman mo kung part siya ng relation or hindi. Okay. Yun lang, kala ko dali lang siya. No? Pero but the main actually or the main focus of this lecture is not about getting the relations but to observe the to observe what? To observe the properties of the relations. Because we have, I think, 5 or 6. Basta, mamaya isa-isay natin. I forget. I don't know if it's 5 or 6 properties of relations that we need to study today. And once we get the relation, yun yung importante. We need to observe the elements of the relation. Kung ano yung mga properties na nasa satisfy. Ayun, na-remember ko na. This is, we have 6 properties for relations. Okay. So, the properties, ito yung pinakamadali. This is the reflexive property. Sulit muna natin lahat pala. Sige. This is the 6 properties that I am talking about. Reflexive, Number 2 is symmetric. Number 3 is antisymmetric. Number 4 is transitive. And the number 5, equivalence relation. And the last would be partial order. So, isa-isay na natin. What is reflexive ba? We say our relation R is a reflexive if for all A element of our set A, dapat yung tuple na AA ay nasa loob ng relation. Sabihin yung pareha nila laging nandoon sa loob ng relation. Okay? Yan ang A natin, 1, 2, 5. Dapat si 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, tsaka 5, 5 nasa loob na relations. Pag isa doon, wala. O, therefore, hindi yun reflexive. Dapat lahat. Kasi nga, for all. Okay? Sige. Let's have an example for that. Same, yung kanina example natin, si R1. Is R1 reflexive? Yes. Kasi yung 1, 1, yung 2, 2, tsaka 3, 3 ko, ay nasa loob ng relation. And yun naman ang condition natin, di ba? Lahat ng magkakapareha, dapat nasa loob ng relation. Therefore, R1 is reflexive. Same thing with R2. Nalista ko siya kanina agad-agad. Lahat ng yung 1, 1, yung 2, 2, yung 3, 3, yung magkakapareha, ay nasa loob pa rin ng aking R2. Therefore, R2 is reflexive. Oh, that's it. That's for the reflexive property. Next. The second property is symmetric. Our relation R is said to be symmetric naman. If for all A, B in R, then BA should be in R as well. Parang sinasabi niya lang, kung yung AB ko nasa loob ng R, dapat yung kabaliktaran niya nasa loob din yung relation. For example, if I have 1, 3 sa loob ng relation, dapat yung 3, 1 nasa loob din ng relation. Ngayon, kung yung kabaliktaran ng isa sa mga relations or elements sa relation ay wala sa loob ng relation, that's the time na hindi siya magiging symmetric. Okay? This is for all. So, dapat lahat ng elements ng relation, yung kabaliktaran, nasa loob pa rin ni relation. Para masabi ko na nasatisfy ng relation yung property ng symmetry. Okay. Sige, let's try with R1. Is R1 symmetric? Yung 1, 1, 2, 2, tsaka 3, 3, sure ako na nandyan yung kabaliktaran niya. Kasi yung kabaliktaran niya, yung sarili niya din. Tama? O, pasok na yung unang elements, may kabaliktaran siya, nasa loob ng R1. Ngayon, yung problema ko lang, yung remaining 3, yung 1, 2, 1, 3, tsaka 2, 3. And actually, yun na yung problema. Si 1, 2, yung kabaliktaran niya, yung 2, 1, wala sa loob ni R1. Si 1, 3, yung kabaliktaran niya, 3, 1, wala rin. Yung 2, 3, kabaliktaran niya, 3, 2, wala rin kay R1. So, therefore, R1 is not symmetric. Actually, ba't ayaw umandar ng PowerPoint ko? Ayan. Kahit isa lang doon sa mga elements ng relation mo, hindi mo makataan ng kabaliktaran sa loob, it's not symmetric already. Okay? So, R1 is not symmetric. Parang kulang yung ano ko doon. Parang dapat is in R1. So, dapat ayan, is in R1. So, dapat 1, 2 is in R1 but 2, 1 is not in R1. So, therefore, R1 is not symmetric. Kulang yung aking sentence. Ayusin natin. Ayan, sige. Well, let's move on. How about R2? For R2 naman, ito yung mga elements natin for R2. Balikan natin. Ano bang elements na R2? Yung relation na R2 natin. Ayan. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, tsaka 3, 1. Again, yung 1, 1, 2, 2, tsaka 3, sure ako may kabaliktaran yan. Yung sarili nila. So, pasok na yon. How about 1, 3? Yung kabaliktaran niya, 3, 1. Nasa loob. Yung 3, 1, kabaliktaran niya, 1, 3. Nasa loob pa din. So, therefore, lahat ng element may kabaliktaran, nasa loob din ng relations. O, pagka ganon, nasatisfy niya yung property ng symmetric. So, R2 is actually symmetric. Okay? Ayun, sorry. Game. Next, the next property would be antisymmetric. A relation R is said to be antisymmetric if AB is and BA nasa loob ng are both in R, then A is equal to B. Ang sinasabi niya lang, lahat ng may kabaliktaran sa akin, sa relation, pag yung kabaliktaran niya nasa loob, dapat equal yung elements, yung A tsaka yung B. Ngayon, kunyari, may kabaliktaran yung isang tuple, kasi hindi naman magkapareha yung element, hindi siya antisymmetric. For example, I have 1, 3 sa loob ng relation. Nagkataon si 3, 1 nasa loob din ng relation. Dapat, si 1 ay equal kay 3 para maging antisymmetric. And, obvious naman na hindi yun equal, di ba? 1 and 3 ay hindi equal. So, therefore, it's not antisymmetric. O parang sinasabi niya lang, ang dapat na nasa loob ng relation, yung may kabaliktaran lang sa loob ng relation, is yung may pare-pareho lang. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and so on. Pag may ibang elements na may kabaliktaran na hindi pareha, o di hindi yun antisymmetric. Siguro na may imagine nyo na kung ano yung magiging antisymmetric dun sa dalawa. O, si R1, di ba? Kasi si R1, yung may kapareha lang sa kanya is 1, 1, 2, 2, tsaka 3, 3. I mean, may kabaliktaran. Kasi yung sarili nila. Ngayon, yung elements nila, equal. 1 is equal to 1, 2 is equal to 2, 3 is equal to 2. Yung other elements, yung 1, 2, 1, 3, and 2, 3, wala na akong pakialam doon. Kasi ang kailangan ko lang naman yung may kabaliktaran. Eh, yung 1, 2, 1, 3, tsaka 2, 3, wala namang kabaliktaran. So, wala akong pakialam doon. Hindi ko yun itetest. Okay? Disregard mo yun. Ang itetest mo lang yung may kabaliktaran. And since yung 1, 1, 2, 2, tsaka 3, 3, yung may kabaliktaran na nasa loob ng relations, yun ang itetest mo kung equal ba yung elements. And obvious naman, equal yung elements nila, di ba? 1, 1, 1 is equal to 1, 2 is equal to 2, 3 is equal to 3. Kaya therefore, R1 is an antisymmetric. Okay? Now, si R2 ang hindi. No? Kasi, si R2, bukod kay 1, 1, 2, 2, tsaka 3, 3, yung 1, 3, tsaka 3, 1, magkabaliktaran, tapos nandun sila sa loob ng relations. But obviously, yung 1, tsaka 3 ay hindi equal. Kaya, hindi siya antisymmetric. Do you notice yung R1 is symmetric, are not symmetric, kaya antisymmetric siya. Si R2 ay, not antisymmetric, pero anti-symmetric siya. Pero symmetric siya. Ay, ang gulo ko, ulit. Si R1 ay not symmetric, kaya anti-symmetric siya. Si R2 ay symmetric, kaya not anti-symmetric siya. Okay, so yan. Sige. Ulitin nyo yung part na yan. Sige. Let's move on. That's actually 3 properties na. Let's move on to the 4th property of relation. Medyo binibilisan ko kasi 20 minutes na agad. Ang bilis. This is not the only video na I posted for this, for this week. So, let me just make it fast para makadami tayo. Okay. The 4th one would be transitive. So, ano ba ang transitive? Ito medyo tricky yung condition for transitivity. Yung relation R is said to be transitive if yung AB ko and BC are both in R. Sorry. If yung AB and BC are both in R, dapat yung AC is in R din. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Kunyari, meron akong AB na 1, 2, tapos yung BC ko 2, 3. Dapat si 1, 3 nasa loob ni AC. Ni R pala. Okay? Sundan nyo to. Mag-assign kayo ng value for A, B, and C. Tapos gawin nyo, kunyari, 1, 2 si AB. Tapos BC, 2, 3. Dapat yung 1, 3 nasa loob ni R. Ganon. Kailangan yung B pareho, baka magkaiba kayo doon. Ngayon, pag meron akong nahanap na isang na AB, BC, tapos yung AC na wala sa loob ni R, doon siya hindi transitive. Ito medyo matyaga ang dito, ang labanan dito, ang pagtitest kasi you need to find I think I would suggest instead of finding all the elements ng AB tsaka BC, try to find AB tsaka BC na yung AC ay wala kay R. Kasi pag nagawa mo yun, nakahanap ka ng isa, o hindi na siya agad transitive. Kasi isa lang kailangan ko dun. Ngayon, pero ngayon, kung matyaga kang isa-isahin lahat, o di go, but I suggest nga, ganun mo na lang siya hanapin. So, is R1 transitive? Si R1 transitive to. Kasi, lahat ng makahanap ko na AB tsaka BC, yung AC niya nasa loob ni R1. One of the example is 1, 2, tsaka 2, 3. Yung A ko dito 1, yung B ko ay 2, yung C ko ay 3. So, yung 1, 2, BC, 2, 3, nasa loob ni R1. Tapos yung 1, 3 ko nasa loob din ni R1, yung AC. Si R2 din is transitive. Lahat ng mahanap ko na AB, BC, yung AC niya nasa loob ng R2. So, R2 is transitive. If you can notice, yung reflexive and transitive property ko sa R1 tsaka R2 ay nag-go ha? Pero it doesn't mean that all of the relations are transitive and reflexive. There are some relations na hindi reflexive at hindi transitive. Huwag niyong i-assume yung bagay na yun, ha? That's a common mistake pagdating sa exam because they thought na dahil yung example ko puro reflexive, lahat ng relations are reflexive, ganun din for transitivity. No, you need to test it. You need to satisfy the condition before you say that it's reflexive or transitive. Okay? Okay. Sorry, may mga kape. Next property. Equivalence relation. So, actually, the remaining two property ay nakadepende na dun sa first four properties natin. We can say that R is equivalence relation, or is said to be an equivalence relation, if R holds the properties reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. Okay? Tatlo. Reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. Ngayon, kung isa doon wala, hindi na yung equivalence relation. Dapat tatlo na yon sakop niya. Reflexive siya, symmetric siya, tsaka transitive siya. Okay? Ngayon, kanina, si R1, alam ko si R1 ay reflexive. Si R1 ay transitive din. Pero si R1 ay hindi symmetric. Pero si R1, si R1 is not symmetric. Tama? Kailangan kasi symmetric eh. Sorry, ang katilikod ko. Reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. Kanina, alam ko, if you recall, R1 is reflexive, R1 is transitive. Pero R1 is not symmetric. So, therefore, R1 is not an equivalence relation. Sayang. Dalawa na nakuha niya, reflexive tsaka transitive. Kung yung symmetric na kuha niya rin, equivalence relation siya. Which is, yun naman ang nakuha ni R2. Kasi si R2, kanina reflexive. Si R2, transitive din. And si R2 ay reflexive. O dahil nakukuha niya yung tatlong property, therefore, R2 is an equivalence relation. And that's one of the good sets sa mathematics. If your set holds that three property, or your set is an equivalence relation, rather, ay magandang set yan. Marami kang pwedeng magawa, or our term is marami kang pwedeng laruin sa part na yun. Okay? Sige. Ayan, daldal ko na naman. Okay, let's move on. That's actually the fifth property. So, we'll go to the last property, which is the partial order. So, ano ba yung mga partial order natin? Ano ibig sabihin ng partial order? Actually, it's look like the same with the equivalence relation. Ang pinagkaiba niya lang is yung second property. If yung ating equivalence relation holds reflexive, symmetric, and transitive, this time, yung partial order holds reflexive, antisymmetric, and transitive. Yun yung pinagkaiba nila. Si symmetric at saka si anti-symmetric. Okay. So, ano nangyari? Is R1 partial order? Yes. Kasi si R1 ay reflexive, si R1 ay anti-symmetric, and si R1 ay transitive. So, therefore, R1 is partial order. In which is yun naman yung hindi kay R2. Kasi si R2 ay not antisymmetric. Symmetric siya doon. So, hindi siya partial order. So, actually, ito yung pwede mong sabihin that if you're, hindi rin pala. Because there are some, merong mga properties or relations na hindi parehang partial order tsaka relations. Medyo malalim. So, hindi yun lagi. Baka kasi isipin nyo, ay, baka pag hindi siya equivalence relation, partial order na siya agad. Hindi ganoon, ha? Hindi rin ibig sabihin na partial order siya, ay hindi yan equivalence relation. O kaya, hindi siya partial order sa equivalence relation. Hindi ganoon, ha? You need to test lagi yung mga properties bago nyo sabihin yun. Bago kayo mag-conclude. Walang, walang, walang magko-conclude ng mga ganun. Okay? Unless meron tayong mga theorem na nagsabi na lang gano'n. Pero as of the moment, wala pa namang theorem na nagsasabi ng gano'n. Kasi nga, we can always find a counterexample for every thing sa relations. Okay? Let's just have a recall for all of this. We discussed what is a relation. And relation, we can get relation using the cross product or the Cartesian product. And then we also study the sixth property of relations. And the sixth property of relations are reflexive, symmetric, antisymmetric, transitive, and equivalence relation, and partial order. Okay, so that's it. That's the lecture for relations. See you on the next video. The next topic would be about functions naman. But hindi na masyadong mabigat about functions. We're going to talk only domain and ranges of functions and the intervals. Yun ang importante kasi hindi naman tayo need to graph or need to compute talaga ng malalaan. Pero ang importante sa MMW is you know what's the concept of intervals and what's the concept of domain and range. Okay? So, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye!